Now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
6:07, O'Connor and Company. Thanks for tuning in here. It's Larry O'Connor and Mercedes Schlapp.
Hi.
What's the Spanish pronunciation for Schlapp?
There is none. I don't believe there is. My poor mother can't pronounce the SH sound.
SCH.
So
that's not.
Slap.
That's not a.
Mercedes slap. I think she had to practice it several times.
Why is the C there? It doesn't make sense. Coming up at 6:35, Curtis Houck, NewsBusters. We'll talk about those layoffs pending at CNN. It's a damn shame. 7:05, Tom Fitton, Judicial Watch. 7:35, Joe Theismann, Redskins great about the burgundy and gold on the verge of the Super Bowl. 8:05, Jenny Terre on the border. And at 8:35, Peter Doocy of Fox News Channel is going to be tangling with a whole new White House press secretary. It's Larry O'Connor and Mercedes. Hey, Mercedes, speaking of the border, we're all border states now, aren't we? Florida, you are, yes. And this is very important that we declare here that this is obviously a difference between legal immigration and illegal immigration. And I saw some polls the other day, across the board, ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN. When you ask the American people, do you favor deporting immigrants who are in the country illegally, it's hovering around 55, 57, 58% in favor of that. And, of course, you know how those polls go. It's probably another 5 to 10 points higher than that. People want the law enforced. That doesn't mean that they don't have a heart, and it doesn't mean that they don't want immigrants in this country. It doesn't mean they're xenophobic. It doesn't mean they're racist. It means they want the law followed, because that's why you have a system of laws. You're the child of immigrants, and you came here through the legal means that this country offers. And we're a generous country, Mercedes, but we've been taken advantage of. We've been taken advantage of by one dominant political party in this country, too. So clearly President Trump said, put me in office, and we're going to enforce the laws, and that means beginning the deportation of people who have broken our laws, and that has begun. Already 300 criminal illegal aliens have been set for deportation in just the first 24 hours under Borders Czar Tom Homan, and that's just the beginning. Do you, first of all, how do you think this goes over in terms of the political ramifications?
See, it's interesting because, of course, you see the liberal leftist media kind of saying, oh, these people, they're all fearing for their lives. It's that same kind of language that they're using on these federal employees as well. But the reality is that the focus is on criminals, on deporting murderers, rapists, etc., where the focus is the criminal illegal aliens. It's the Tren de Aragua. It's the getting rid of these individuals that have created fear and chaos in these communities, especially in these Latin communities. And you'll see people on the news real fast. You'll see it's like, oh, but they're when they go into the house to get the murderer or the rapist or gang member, then there's innocent people and they're getting round up. And I said, the reason why is because of those sanctuary city policies that don't hold the murderer or the rapist or the shoplifter in the jail where they belong. Yeah, they release them. We can't be harboring criminals. I'm so sorry, right? We just shouldn't be doing that. And so I think, this Trump declaring an emergency at the U.S.-Mexico border, and also his focus on designating certain international cartels and organizations such as Tren de Aragua and MS-13 as foreign terrorist organizations. And, I think it's a smart step. We got to get a handle on the criminals. Yeah. And I think that it is horrific when you watch these mayors, these liberal mayors, or these governors basically saying how they're going to push back on President Trump's deportation plans and not really trying to capture these criminals. So that is the focus that they're doing, and I think we need to get a handle on what is happening in terms of the illegal immigration process, because what's happened now is, and I've talked to like an Uber driver who's was explaining to me that his wife came in through the border illegally. He just admitted. And it's just like, this is what these people are doing. They are not following the law. Yeah. Instead, they're taking advantage of all the loopholes and, in certain cases, using drug cartels to bring their families
Right.
across the border, putting these vulnerable families in danger.
I used to say, and I still maintain this, by the way, I'm not necessarily angry and resentful at the people who cross our border illegally. I'm angry and resentful at the government who encourages it to happen. If I'm living on the Mexican border in squalor,
Yeah.
and I know and I've been told by the American government that if I cross that border illegally, there will be no ramifications, there will be no repercussions, I won't be arrested. And, oh, by the way, once I get there and I cross the border illegally, I'm going to get this much money per month, I'm going to get this kind of housing, my children will live in a safe neighborhood and get an education. I'd be a terrible father if I didn't take advantage of that. Honestly, it's the government's fault. The government has been selling these people this bill of goods. Once they're here, though, they have to understand you're still here illegally, and if we elect somebody who's going to kick you out, I'm sorry, that's on you. You have to live under this threat that you might be deported, and now the deportations begin. And I'm sorry.
Right. Well,
that's
President Trump, he reinstated Remain in Mexico policy. We're talking about this, ending a program that released asylum seekers into the U.S. while their cases were considered. Now, so think about this. These individuals were literally using this app, okay?
Yeah.
Like an app, like the Amazon app.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Oh, they made it so convenient and efficient.
Right. It's the CBP One app, which now has been canceled,
Yeah.
right? And they nixed the program. So it was so easy just to kind of apply and say, hey, I'm seeking asylum in the U.S., so let me in.
By the way, and
so in
also,
this
if I
essence,
may, they're living in abject poverty and squalor, but they have an iPhone to download the app so they can get the CBP One app.
with the app, and then they pay $7,000 to the drug cartel to help them facilitate get into the United States. In many cases, young girls and young women are being raped, sexually assaulted. In some cases, and we know this to be factual, they're ending up in the hands of human traffickers where when they come to this country and they end up with a sponsor, we have no idea where these children are. And so this has to stop.
Yes.
This just has to stop completely. And so you have to be radical in these policy changes in order to get a handle on our immigration system that is sadly broken. The boldest move he made was obviously this end to birthright citizenship for those born to illegal aliens.
Mm-hmm.
That is going to face a lot of legal challenges. I don't see how that is going to stand, quite frankly, but it's one of those things that I think has also one probably has been the most controversial.
It
out of
is.
all of
I
them.
think that there is a compelling constitutional argument to be made because the 14th Amendment, which has been employed to protect birthright citizenship, says specifically whether you're in this country and not under the jurisdiction of another entity. But by definition, these are people who are under the jurisdiction of another entity, of another government, because they are citizens and subjects of another government. So, listen, it's an important constitutional argument that certainly needs to be made and defined and solidified at the Supreme Court level, instead of just assumed by unelected bureaucrats that this is how we're supposed to interpret the 14th Amendment, that was never written, drafted, and voted upon and affirmed thinking that it would mean birthright citizenship. The entire 14th Amendment and that language had to do with the enslaved Africans who were here post-Civil War. All right, coming up, we're going to give you...
I didn't even know you were a legal scholar. Wow.
I'm not, but I
Gosh,
listen to Mark
radio
Levin.
host, legal
No,
scholar.
I listen to Mark
Really
Levin, and so I
there you go.
That's all you need to do. All right, coming up in a moment, we're going to give you some of the details about how many have been deported already, who they are, where they came from, and also how the Pentagon is now going to get involved with border security. We'll give you those details in a moment. First, though, at 6:15, WMAL traffic and weather every 10 minutes. First on the fives with Jamie Whitten in the Hadid Carpet Cleaning Traffic Center.
WMAL.
Making sense of the news.
Live.
From the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios.
Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
News and weather are brought to you by WAPA.
Yesterday, the Pentagon, under Acting Secretary of Defense Robert Salesses, approved 1,500 troops at the direction of the Commander-in-Chief to be dispatched to the southern border. This will help carry out President Trump's immigration orders and border security orders. They will assist in the processing and reinforce the border security protocols that are needed down there. It's not sending troops to round people up to deport them, but they are assisting in the process in terms of, filling in the gaps. And assisting in the processing and various aspects of what needs to be done here. That's a good thing and necessary, and there's nothing unconstitutional about it. Thank you very much. Also, Jenny Terr of the New York Post, who's going to be joining us at 8:05 to give us some more details on this. She has an exclusive that she got from the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Brigades. On the first day in office, ICE made arrests in Denver, Philadelphia, Atlanta, Seattle, Baltimore, and Miami. And these include, well, for instance, Philadelphia, Kodir Mazadov, a 22-year-old Tajikistan citizen who was detained after violating the terms of his release from the immigration agency's custody. On December 29th, Philly cops arrested him for crimes including reckless endangering another person, fleeing or attempting to elude an officer, and reckless driving. In Cannon City, Colorado, Jose Barco Chirino, a Venezuelan national, was arrested. He was serving time after being convicted of attempted murder, extreme indifference, and felony menacing with a real or simulated weapon. I can go on, but Mercy, you see this, and President Trump said it during his inauguration. These are common sense things. It's common sense. Why would we have this person who came into this country illegally already and then commit these heinous acts? Why are they still here? Deport them, send them back.
Be in America.
Of course they should
They
not
have
be in America. It is a privilege to be in this country.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you come to work hard. You come to do what is right. You come to contribute to our great nation, and there is no room for criminals here. You think of that horrible bishop, which I'm sure you all covered yesterday, which was the woman bishop at the National Cathedral talking about the mercy of the immigrants, and you're going, well, what about the mercy for Laken Riley? What about the mercy for Jocelyn Nungari, who was killed by two young girl raped and murdered by two illegal aliens? These criminals should be out of this country. Oh. Let me tell you, it is disgusting what has happened in terms of allowing these criminals to basically, act out on these criminal acts. It's just horrific.
Oh, and the virtue signaling of this publicity hound, so-called bishop for the Episcopal Church, who then went on The View and went on CNN and went as I doubt.
Oh my goodness,
she's probably auditioning for a job on The View.
So we've been talking about how beautiful Melania looked and Usha, and I mean they looked stunning. And I'm looking at this bishop woman, and I hate to be so superficial.
Oh, go ahead.
But
Better
just
you
for
than
one
me.
minute, because you're kind of like my girlfriend in a lot of ways. That that I'm going. Okay, just put a little bit of makeup on, just concealer. Mascara, and let's do something with your hair. Not you, but the bishop woman.
No, I understand what you're saying.
I was completely, I could not listen to her because I was so focused on her physical looks. I was going, let me do a makeover, darling. This is not working for you.
I was a little more concerned about the content of the sermon, but you do make a point. It is a little distracting when you're so-called bishop.
And all she wanted was to be a TV,
of course.
she almost sounded like she wanted to be a TV personality. There was no humility there.
You're so
right. There was no trying to be kind. It was all all a facade.
No, it was condescending, it was patronizing, it was sanctimonious. You could power the lights in that cathedral on the power of her own self-satisfaction in delivering those remarks. But I want to get back to something that you said, that she kept stressing the idea of mercy, and she's wrapping herself in Christianity, saying we're all about mercy. You know what? It's funny, she's sola scriptura because she's a Protestant. I'm a Catholic. I know my Bible. There's a lot more in that book than just mercy. Being a Christian means a lot more than just showing mercy. There's also something there about justice. There's also something there about having mercy for the downtrodden, not the people who are breaking our laws and consistently break our laws. I mean the downtrodden who are victims of those people that she wants us to show mercy on. And also, by the way, I mean, again, you know the Bible better than I do there, Bishop Buddy. Could you please show me the chapter and verse that defines what a transgender child is? Because I've been looking and I can't find it. Meanwhile, Mercedes, sorry, you got me off on her. My gosh,
No, you were really good. I'm just sitting here enjoying this rant, Larry rant.
ICE is now, it's a passionate monologue, not a rant. ICE is offering rewards right now, upwards to $750 if you can report an illegal immigrant who is in this country and should be deported. And so, of course, with our entrepreneurial spirit in this nation, people are taking to TikTok.
ICE, they over there on Chambly and Buford. They always be at the farmers market over there on the south side at the big farmers market. But Chambly, that's little Mexico, Chambly, Buford side, all that right there.
Go get them.
We should have her on the show.
I don't think that's the way you get your reward. I know just where they are. They're right over there on the corner there. They're sitting there waiting for a job after the Home Depot. Round them up. The number, by the way, is 866-DHS-2-ICE. 866-DHS-2.
Wait, I'm calling right now.
You got
Larry O'Connor.
Yeah. Anna Navarro.
He's over at the Chambly. Go pick him up.
Anna Navarro and her abuela. It's 6:23.
If your patio, sidewalk, or driveway is cracked or uneven, if you've tripped or fallen as a result, or if you're worried about the liability of an uneven surface on your property, American Concrete Services can quickly help. Don't pay.
Now,
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 6:37. It's O'Connor and Company here on this Thursday morning in your nation's capital under new management. Thank you very much. Coming up later in this program at 7:05, Tom Fitt and Judicial Watch. 7:35, Redskins great Joe Theismann. 8:05, Jenny Terror of the New York Post, and then 8:35, Peter Ducey of Fox News Channel. That's a lineup. Can't get any better, but it just did because we've got Mercedes Schlapp all morning long. Good morning, Mercy. And it got
good morning.
And
it's
it got
a great morning.
better again because we're joined by managing editor of NewsBusters, our buddy Curtis Houck. Curtis, before I turn to you, I just want you to take a quick listen to Jim Acosta yesterday on CNN.
This is not Fox, Congressman. You can't just spin a tail and pull the wool over people's eyes.
Yeah.
This is CNN. This is the news. We are asking you to come on and tell the truth.
And that's why more people are watching the Cartoon Network SpongeBob reruns right now, Jim.
Oh, you gotta love it. Curtis, with that, Jim Acosta, well, is he going to make the cut? Because CNN, this is not Fox News, this is CNN. We just talk about this. They're about to issue a lot of pink slips today, aren't they?
Yeah, hundreds of pink slips, gang. This is pretty stunning stuff. I mean, it sounds like a lot of it's going to be getting rid of the staffs of a lot of these shows. Mm-hmm. Like, oh my gosh, some of these pampered anchors guys might have to write their own scripts. Like they might have to book their own guests. My goodness, these people may actually have to do some work. They can't just have it all done for them.
It sounds like, other than the booking your own guest thing, which Heather Hunter does is the greatest producer ever, but she does the work of 8 people on this show if you compare it to television. And it's like they're going to be doing radio, exactly. Curtis. God forbid.
Oh no, we can't have that. We can't have that for some of these folks that make millions and millions and millions of dollars. No, and what's interesting with Jim Acosta is it was reported last week by their former colleague. And
I think one of the things that we've seen also with CNN is they've been facing these defamation lawsuits as well. We know CNN had to pay out at least $5 million to one of these veterans that was associated with taking people out of Afghanistan following President Biden's botched withdrawal from that country of the U.S. troops. So they've had their legal issues as well that they're dealing with. In addition to what came out in that discovery process was a $400 million revenue loss in the last 4 years. Is CNN even fixable at this point?
I don't know. Warner Brothers Discovery, you have to be looking at CNN financials and thinking, just from a business standpoint, what are we doing? Is this worth saving? Jim Acosta, they're going to try and, I think, force him to quit. They're not going to lay him off because that way he can't, lionize himself a la, Spider-Man 2 there when he's passed back, in the cross. At the end of the movie, because that's what he wants. He wants to be a martyr. So this is what the whole move to make him go to midnight to 2 a.m. thing is about, I think that's what that is. Instead of just lay him off, they're going to try to force him to quit. They're trying to break his will. They're trying to break him. And we'll see what happens there, because his bully campaign isn't going to work. You saw that, what happened yesterday. He got absolutely rolled. He did his little pompous thing last week with the pink poster from the Women's March, talking about how great it was that Joe Biden talks about, we're not the enemy of the people, we are democracy itself. He went full Emperor Palpatine, like, I am the Senate. Like, it's so ridiculous. And my colleague Nick Fonacaro was all over the CNN defamation trial, and he was just absolutely stunned about how much CNN got rolled. And he is predicting that a few of the editors behind that story could be ones that end up rolling today.
Yeah, interesting. So other than moving Acosta to midnight, which is just delicious, there's no other high-profile people. It's going to be mostly producers, associate producers, staffers, things like that at CNN.
It could. It could. There might be correspondence here or there, because in previous layoffs, they had gotten rid of not like hosts themselves, but a lot of marquee correspondent. I mean, we saw John Harwood, we saw Chris D'Eliza in previous rounds as well. So who knows? Who knows? And they're going to make Wolf Blitzer go to the morning too, which is also interesting.
Who's going to the morning? Sorry,
Wolf Blitzer. They could make Wolf Blitzer go to the morning as well.
No one wants to wake up with Wolf Blitzer. Mrs. Blitzer doesn't want to wake up with Wolf Blitzer. That's a terrible
What time
idea.
is he moving? Can I be honest? I actually think Wolf is probably one of the better ones at CNN. I really do. I think he's
I don't know, for a morning
not as
show,
crazy as Jake Tapper or these others that hate Trump. But so they're really, Curtis, they're moving him to the morning. I didn't read that.
That's crazy.
Well, they could, I mean, that's the speculation as well with the Acosta to midnight move. Yeah,
what about
put him there?
Sorry, Curtis, we're just so plugged in on this and we're excited. Can you hold on? Because we haven't even gotten to the Peacock Network. NBC News is going to have their other issues.
Absolutely.
But also, I want to sort of pick Curtis's brain. Curtis Houck is at NewsBusters Media Research Center, and there's been a shift they're calling it a vibe shift in this country, and how you saw the CEO of Apple there at the inauguration. You saw Mark Zuckerberg getting on board. You see these other corporations, Jamie Dimon, J.P. Morgan. Will the media figure it out? Will they figure out that they can't keep doing the things they've been doing for the last 10 plus years in covering Donald Trump and covering conservatives? Will they finally get it that they're repelling their audience and they need to start speaking and allowing our perspectives on their channels? Will they get it? We'll ask Curtis Houck. I'm giving you about 3 minutes to think that over. I want a damn good answer from you. All right. It is
lifetime in radio.
It is 6.
This morning on the Chris Plant Show, funny how the angry Democrats have forgotten about all of the preemptive pardons for their thousands of rioters. 9 a.m. on WMAL.
All right, we continue with Curtis Houck of NewsBusters, who got some information there about his next home remodel with Foster Remodeling Solutions. That's good. But he's had time to think about this. All right, Curtis, according to a CNN poll, 60% of Americans are feeling optimistic about the Trump administration. And yet there's only one voice, one paid employee of all of CNN, Scott Jennings, who actually gives voice to that 60% of the American people every night. MSNBC, you don't get anybody. You look at the network news, ABC, CBS, NBC, when they do their roundtables after their Sunday shows, there's not one paid employee who can speak on behalf of the voters who support Donald Trump. Are they going to change that at any point, do you think, Curtis?
Well, first of all, you usually get somebody like Chris Christie. That's their idea of somebody who speaks for the rest of the country.
I don't think that counts.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so either. No, I don't think they do. I don't think they care. I mean, you saw this. Puck was reporting Dylan Byers last night that Mark Thompson on Sunday night told CNN employees, hey, guys, just be open-minded, be dispassionate coverage, focus on the future, stop looking backwards about all your previous dislike of Donald Trump the first time around. And of course, it's very clear that they didn't listen. This is like an addict, unfortunately, Larry Mercy.
Yeah.
This is they do not want to, and they cannot help themselves but fixate on the past with Donald Trump, how he wronged them, how they thought they could bait and switch on him in 2016, they could elevate him and then vanquish him in favor of Hillary Clinton in 2016. They will never, ever get over it. that he was one of them in the 90s, in the early 2000s. They cannot get over that, and that he has changed and stood up for the forgotten men and women. They've said all sorts of crazy things during the inauguration, like, oh, because Mark Zuckerberg and the head of Google and Jeff Bezos were all there, it's a sign that, you know, his word of standing up for the forgotten men and women is all fake. It's not real. He's overstepping. That was kind of the vibe on ABC News and NBC News. It's just absolutely pathetic. They have no credibility whatsoever. And, yeah, NBC is going to have a few layoffs this week as well. So, you know.
But not as much as CNN.
Do you think it's also this kind of change in the media landscape? I mean, the citizen journalism is very real.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is impacting how people are consuming the news and where they're going for their news. And I just find, you know, that they just can't compete with that. They did the CNN Plus, and that completely fell apart in terms of going, streaming online. It just didn't work for them. So, I mean, their business model is just simply failing.
No, yeah, Emergency, you know, that's a great point. And it's an indictment of our higher education system and the so-called J schools that were supposed to teach journalists the basic facts. You know, the who, what, where, when, why, and how. They're incapable of doing that. We see bias by omission all the time. That's one of the worst examples of bias you might see that we've seen for, you know, our entire the Media Research Center's entire existence. And citizen journalists know that, like, how about I just report the facts and kind of follow where they may lead? Like,
yeah,
what an idea. Like, people aren't always going to agree with what I find, but that's okay. I'm just going to let the chips fall where they may. I'm not going to insult anybody. And at the end of the day, folks, it's a reminder that, hey, the First Amendment applies to all of us, not just the news media. I think that's the thing that the American people have come to loathe the most, that they think the First Amendment only applies to them. No. The First Amendment applies to all of us, and that includes our right to say you suck.
Thank you. And then the freedom of the press is for us, too, because it's not just to protect reporters, it's to protect our process. We need a free and unfettered press so that we can function with the democratic process in our constitutional republic. Curtis Houck, it's like you read my book that's coming out next week, because a good part of it focuses on that. I'll send you my book. It's called Shameless Liars, How Trump Defeated the Legacy Media and Made Them Irrelevant. Shameless.
Have Curtis buy the book. Liars. You need people to buy the book. You're not going to give it away.
Yeah, you get the big bucks at Media Research Center.
Curtis, you got to buy the book.
Thank you,
fact,
Curtis.
buy like 1,000 if you can. That would be really helpful. And give it to your best friends.
Thank you, Curtis Houck, managing editor.